Hello and welcome to Rogue Artisans and Crafters. We welcome you to our viewer, to our new series of episodes in 2018, where we feature local artists and craftspeople from within Southern Oregon. With our show, we talk to our featured artists about how they came to their art, what drives them as artists, find out stories behind their art process, and how their work as artists influences their lives. Today, we have the privilege of featuring local artist Glenn Calascibetta, who works as a Kinetic art wood sculpture artist. I found Glenn and his work at one of the Lithia Artisans fairs this past December. I found his work in producing unique fine art wood sculptures from trees native to Oregon, really wonderful in their design and appearance. He combines unique rare woods and driftwood with agates, seashells, and other beautiful stones to create truly wonderful wood sculptures, and I'm pleased to be able to introduce his work to our audience. So Glenn, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So to begin with, how long have you been working as a professional artist, doing what you're doing today?
Professionally, this will be my 10th year coming up.
Okay. And how exactly did you find yourself into producing what you're producing today?
It started when I moved to Northern California to go to college.
Uh-huh.
And that was in the early 70s.
Okay.
And I discovered multiple things, nature for one, and which was redwoods and the ocean and the beaches, and it was just truly amazing. But there were a lot of artists in that time creating things out of wood and potters and all that stuff. But it was a huge time for people to express their creativity.
Yeah.
And that's where it started, and I was exposed to a lot of that. Didn't have any opportunity to really do anything with it. I collected driftwood and started making a couple of driftwood mobiles out of rough wood.
Yeah.
And so over the next 30 years, it was mostly a hobby.
Yeah.
And when I moved to Oregon, I just kept doing it a little bit at a time. I'd make gifts for friends and family and things like that. And then it gradually just became a little bit more than a hobby. And, and then finally, when I retired, it gave me the opportunity to really get into it more.
Yeah.
And my daughter encouraged me to take what I was doing and go to the Lithia Artisans market here in Ashland and see if I couldn't, sell it.
Right, yeah.
So that's what happened, and they kindly let me in their group, and being exposed to a group of very talented people at the Lithia Artisans market, I was encouraged and to keep moving with my art. And about 3 years ago, I felt like I took the driftwood mobile thing as far as I could take it. I just wasn't getting any satisfaction from it like I used to. And I started wood sculpture. Yeah. And a friend of mine there who is a master wood sculptor, Larry Shinerock, he's been doing this for 35 years. And I've been admiring his work for many years. He's helped me, given me tips, and encouraged me to keep moving forward with what I was doing. And which was really, coming from him, was very uplifting for me.
Yeah, right, exactly, yeah.
So, and just, it's a matter of, in the last 2 years, I've built myself a shop, and I've acquired a lot of new tools to help me do the little things that I couldn't do before.
Right.
And so now I feel like I'm on a brand new path in my life, and I'm just having a ball with it.
Well, that's really great to hear, because I mean, I was really, when I came across your booth at the Lithia Artisans Fair, I mean, I was just really immediately impressed with the uniqueness and quality of the woodwork that you're producing. And so it was, when I find an artist whose work really excites me, those are ones I want to get on my show right away. And so I really find it unique, the style of kinetic design that you're doing with your wood. I mean, in talking to you before, I mean, you're applying a little bit of aerodynamic design in your kinetic design to get the shapes that you're doing, and I find that really kind of cool. So,
Yeah, I found when I started sculpting, I was just looking for something different.
Yeah.
And I came across doing a concave, convex shape. And I noticed in my living room I have a ceiling fan. And when I reverse the fan and the air blows along the ceiling and then down, the pieces that were hanging close to the wall were catching that breeze. And the ones that had that shape were catching it a lot more
Yeah.
than the ones that were just flat, or you
Right.
know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So I've incorporated that. Plus, I think it's just it adds a lot. It gives you more view of the wood itself.
Yeah.
And to me, the wood is all what's important.
exactly. Well, we happen to have a selection of images of some of your pieces that you guys in the control room could bring up, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those, the styles of work that you produce commonly. A heart seems to be a common shape that you like to produce.
It's a popular
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bird's eye maple from a big leaf maple tree, a native tree here.
Uh-huh.
And but that is one of my most popular
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next image.
That's also, I get a lot of people saying it looks like a treble clef.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the other line going through it, but actually when I came up with the design, I hadn't even been thinking about it, maybe subconsciously, but
Yeah, I definitely see that connection though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful shape.
another piece of maple burl. I love maple burl. It's just one of the prettiest woods.
Let's go to the next one.
That is my design
Yeah.
without any other influence. That has a Brazilian agate hanging in the center, and the brown stuff that you see on it is polymer clay.
All right, okay.
And I blend 3 different colors of clay, and then wrap it onto the stone and bake it.
Okay.
The mixing of the clay tends to give it a more wood-like, so it looks like it has grain in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people tell me, is that wood? And
Yeah.
I go, no, it's not wood. But I've expanded my work with the clay a lot in the last couple of years. It used to be just a little cap on
Yeah,
top,
right.
and now I'm incorporating it much more into the piece.
Yeah. Okay, so go on to the next one.
Another piece of maple, that's a crescent moon shape, which is another popular piece. That one's got an amethyst and a quartz crystal on it.
All right. And go to the next one.
Seashells, cut seashells. I've just started doing that about 2 years ago. I found those over on the coast.
Yeah.
And I just thought they were amazing. Seashells in themselves are gorgeous, but
Right.
when you cut through it and see what's going on in there, it's just, and I bought them, I didn't know what I was going to do with them.
Yeah.
And just like everything else with artists, if you're open to it, something usually comes through.
Yes.
If you have the intent and you're open to receiving it.
Yeah. All right, so let's go on to the next.
Oh, this is, that is a piece of madrone. And I got that from my daughter's father-in-law's place up behind Talent. And the whole center of that piece was rotted out. And it started radiating out. And he had that in his firewood pile, and I rescued that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And I actually got several slices out of it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's got a piece of Brazilian agate inlaid into it. Just madrone is just an absolutely gorgeous wood.
Yeah, okay. And let's go on to the next.
This one is a combination. This is ginkgo leaves. I am a very big fan of ferns.
Okay.
And maidenhair ferns resemble the ginkgo leaf very closely. And so that piece is composed of manzanita pieces. The leaves themselves are made out of tan oak. And then there's a Brazilian agate and a couple of small carnelian Oregon agates also in that piece.
All right. So let's go on to the next.
That is my whale out of manzanita burl.
Okay.
And just love manzanita.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, and going and seeing your work online, the wildlife shapes seem to be like one of your favorite themes that you come to.
I just started doing that this year.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
started doing the animal thing.
Yeah.
I have 3 passions in my life: my family, my gardening, and my art.
Yeah.
And the natural world, and especially living here in Oregon and when I was living in Northern California, it just means everything. I just feel alive
Right.
when I'm out. And so you came to my place the other day.
Yeah.
You saw my yard.
Yeah, it's really an incredible garden you have.
So
in the
I
back
have
there.
created that inside the city so that I don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
I can just go out and sit by my koi pond
Yeah.
and be motivated to go back into my shop, which is only 10 feet away,
Yeah.
and go to work.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you definitely have a really comfortable, inspirational environment from which to do your work. I thought that was really cool.
I love it. I don't like leaving.
Now, I want to talk about your process. Now, we have some wood piece here, a couple of pieces that kind of show the transition from raw to like a beginning shape, right?
Right. So it all starts from a slab, and I'm going to make a plug to the people who
Yeah.
I'm getting my wood
Yeah,
from.
go ahead, yeah.
It's a small place in just south of Bandon. It's a young family-run business, and it's called Woods of the West, and it's on Highway 101, and they have a beautiful shop there where they mill local lumber and sell it to artists, and they also have a small shop also,
Right.
but
So, like, this is a piece of what, bird's eye maple?
bird's eye maple,
Right.
big leaf maple,
Right. And so you get slabs of wood such as this from
Yeah.
your source.
Yep.
And then you take the shapes and kind of work up a plan or a design.
You know, I come up with with the hearts. There's certain things that I've been remaking
Right.
that are popular, like the hearts.
Yeah.
So I'll take a slab of wood like that and I'll draw several hearts on it, and then I'll cut them out. And then the next process is to carve out, to do the concave shape. So
Right.
that takes carving. And
Right. So that's like this is an example of that
right.
process.
That's the finished process, but it gets carved out, and then several processes of sanding to get rid of all the carving marks.
Right.
And once I get it down to the fine finish, and then I oil it,
Right. Okay.
and they're all oil finished now.
Now, typically, I mean, you do from small to larger kinds of pieces, but in general, what's the most common time frame of producing a piece for your most common themes, like your heart shapes or like an animal shape or?
It's funny because I watched the interview before, and it was interesting what Nancy said,
Yeah.
and she's absolutely right. It takes the time it takes
Yeah.
is the time it takes.
Exactly.
I couldn't tell you because, like her, I'm doing multiple things.
Okay.
And so I'm in and out of the shop between the garden and there, so there's no clock.
Yeah.
And I don't really pay attention to it.
Uh-huh.
Bigger pieces take a whole lot longer, of course.
Yeah.
Pieces that have agate that are inlaid take even more time because of the intricacy of cutting that groove so the agate lays flat with the wood.
Right.
And getting it so that I can glue it in place without showing any of that stuff. So it all just takes time.
Yeah.
And now that I'm retired and doing this full time, it doesn't really matter how much time it takes.
Yeah, okay. Now, but we happen to have, like, this middle piece that we have here happens to be an example of a piece that you've been working on for quite some time as an example of the process that you go through to make a more complex kind of a piece. So tell me a little bit about this.
This piece, it was collected from a very old Doug fir tree. I estimated probably well over 500 years old.
Oh, wow.
It was growing on the edge of a creek, and the water had washed away all the roots, and so they were totally exposed and dead. I don't cut down live trees or live branches or anything. It's got to be dead for me to collect it. And so this initially was solid. And before I had real tools, all I had was a Dremel.
Yeah.
And so most of this got carved out. The whole interior of this thing is hollowed out.
Right, okay.
And that was done with a small Dremel tool, but
Yeah.
it took lots of hours.
Yeah. So, so this is like, you've been basically hollowing out the whole structure to get the shape that we have now.
Right.
And so you've got a great deal of time invested in
A lot of time. I couldn't even tell you, I have no idea how many hours. And what I'm waiting for now is the inspiration on how I'm going to mount it.
Right.
So I'm waiting to find the piece of wood because I'm thinking I'm going to carve roots out of a big chunk of wood to match this so that it sits on top, and so maybe fit a rock under it with roots going, or that kind of. So it's still percolating, but it'll happen someday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now beyond, like, you have your, like, the Kinetic mobiles, but you also have, like, your just more sculptural kinds of pieces, like we have here on the table. Do you find that among your customers, the sculptural pieces are more what you sell, or is it like the mobile Kinetic pieces that are like most of your attention is paid to?
The Kinetic pieces.
The Kinetic pieces?
And I think I only really sell at the Lithy Artisans Market and on Etsy. Since I haven't been doing this very long, and I don't like to travel, so I don't do shows yet. That may change.
Yeah.
But my mobiles are pretty unique.
Yes.
So even on Etsy, which is so huge and has so many people making mobiles, there isn't anybody making Kinetic art like I'm making on Etsy anyway.
Yeah.
And so therefore, that's where most of my stuff seems to sell.
Right.
But I do sell bowls, and I do sell the others. So, and I just do this because it's fun.
Yeah.
I like to change things up.
Yeah. Now, most of the wood that you're dealing with, you say, is all from trees native to Oregon.
95% of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's mostly what you're dealing with, like maples?
Big leaf maple, manzanita, madrone, Doug fir, Pacific yew, which is a little used wood. It's the piece that's on the far end that's really a dark wood.
Right, okay.
That's Pacific yew. I do some redwood and juniper.
Yeah.
Those are the main ones.
Right. So.
And myrtle wood.
Okay.
Myrtle
wood. And so you get all your wood primarily from the one source that you've talked about.
Well, I get the maple and the myrtle wood from them.
Okay.
The rest of it is just wherever I can get it.
Okay. So are you like going out in the field a lot to like find?
Not a lot. During the summer, we spend a lot of time up on the North Umpqua River.
Yeah.
And so I'm out hiking up and down the streams looking for driftwood.
Right.
And branches or whatever I can find that catches my attention.
Yeah.
Like I said, my daughter's father-in-law has property, and he lets me go up and collect manzanita. People contact me and say, "We have wood." I find it at garage sales. It's
just wherever it comes.
But if it strikes me as having some potential, I'll snap it up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now, what's like a typical price range on your pieces from small to like your largest?
Right now, I would say it's between 50 and 500.
Okay, all right. And you have your store on Etsy. Do you have any other online presence beyond the Etsy shop?
I've got one. I got some pieces in a shop in Wairika.
Okay.
The Serendipity gift shop and art shop. They just recently, just this last fall, started showing my stuff there.
Okay, but you're not like in any local galleries as of right now.
No, because of the Lithy Artisans Market, and I don't want to compete with the local people. So I spend a lot of time at the Lithy Artisans Market during the summer. So
right, and that starts typically what, about April or May is when that begins?
Late March or April, and all the way through October.
Yeah, and so that's like every weekend that you have a booth there?
I'm not there every weekend, especially when camping season comes.
Yeah, well, you gotta get.
But actually, I do come home from camping just to do the show, and then I go back up. But Yeah, and it depends on the weather. If it's smoky and it's hot, you know, I'm not showing up. But I try to be there. If the weather's nice, I try to be there as much as I can, and mostly on Saturdays.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I try to make it several times throughout the summer to the Lithia Artisans Market on the weekends. And it wasn't until at the winter fair,
The Christmas show.
that I actually came across your work. So
Yeah, probably because I was up camping or something.
yeah. Well, that sounds like a fun way to spend the summer anyway. So, you know. There are, let's see, what have I not covered yet? You've got, on the mobiles, you've done, which is the higher percentage of your construction? Is it like, is it the driftwood that you're using, or is it more the other typical kind of like slab wood that you're working with?
The pieces that are hanging here are more typical. The heart behind you are more is typically what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I do some driftwood, but it has to be a special piece of wood.
Right. Okay.
And I used to make elaborate big pieces of driftwood, 50 pieces of wood and stone on it, and I don't do that too much anymore.
Now, where do you source your stones, your agates, and the other items that you incorporate into your designs?
Again, that's wherever I can find it.
Right.
The shells, I find it at a shop over on the coast usually. I have a good friend from the Artisans Market who goes to Arizona during the winter, and he buys a lot of Brazilian agate slabs for me when he's down there.
Right.
Crystals, I use a lot of crystals, prisms. Those get bought online. Excuse me. The clay is local.
Yeah.
So wherever I can get it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's really, you know, I'm happy that you're able to come on the show because you got a really great, unique style to what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I find it exciting to see. So, where are we at this point in our show? 5 minutes? Okay. Well, we still have some time, so that's good. Okay, that's good to know. Is there anything that I haven't covered yet that you could think of that our viewing audience needs to know?
I don't know. You covered a lot of it. You know, I haven't been doing it that long, and I don't have the background. So I'm a newbie, so to speak. So I think I'm really happy with my agate inlays in my pieces.
Yeah.
That's kind of a unique thing that I've discovered, and I think it's mine.
Yeah.
I'm going to claim that.
Yeah. Well,
and
as an artist, it's something you're always striving to find those things that really distinguish yourself out of the pack of other artists that are out there.
Yeah, and in this day and age, it's not easy to be unique. So I feel pretty good about that.
You know, for me, as I do this show, I am always, to me, what I look for is just the artist whose work that excites me. And I'm not concerned about so much their level of invested time. I mean, I like to know that to kind of get the story out of the artist. But you're being a newbie, you know, to me isn't as concerning as just the quality of the work that you are producing, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Like I said, Larry Shinerock is a big motivator for me,
Yeah.
and I strive to match his level of artistry in the what that he does, and because I'm new at this, I feel like there's so many things I want to do, and so I've still got some years ahead of me, and I think I can do
well, as long as you can keep seeing a future of a great deal of exploration to what you are pursuing and developing, I think you've got a long future and career ahead of you in doing your work.
Thank you.
So,
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for coming on to the show, and I appreciate your coming in to show your work and to talk about what you do.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Well, that is the end of our show, Rogue Artisans and Crafters. And we thank you at home for joining us and learning about our featured artist, Glenn Calascibetta. We thank Glenn for being our featured artist and appearing on our show to discuss his life and work. We also want to thank our crew who have made it possible to put this program together, and to thank RVTV for their wonderful studio facility, which allows us to produce shows such as this one. If you would like to become a studio producer and create your own public access show, you can contact RVTV to learn how. You can watch this show on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. and Thursday evenings at 11:30 p.m. on Channel 15 of the Ashland Home Network, and in the rest of Southern Oregon via charter cable on Channel 182. You can also find all episodes of Rogue Artisans and Crafters at archive.org. You can also visit RVTV online at rvtv.sou.edu to find streaming of all of our shows. Please make sure and check out Glenn Calascibetta on his Etsy online store, where you can get more information about his art. I'm your host, David Glamour Dave Nienow, and we will see you next time. And that is the end of